I'll call the meeting to order for February, was it the 1st today?
Yes.
2021. Got to get used to saying that. We'll start with a roll call. We'll start with Darcy.
Darcy Dale here.
Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy here.
Jamie.
Jamie Knudsen here.
And myself, Sean Farrell, is here. All right, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
I pledge
to the
allegiance to the
of the United
flag
States of America
of the United States of
and
America and to the
for which it
republic
stands,
for which it
one nation,
stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And we have a few announcements and some openings. We have a excuse me, Human Rights Commission openings, 5 of those. Hamilton Historic District Commission, 2 openings. Zoning Board of Appeals opening. Community Preservation Committee opening. Conservation Commission opening, and last but not least, Open Space Committee opening. And then if we have anybody else on the line today that would like to chime in before we get started for 3 minutes of public comment, they're more than welcome to. All right, seeing as no one spoke up, we'll start with some selectmen and the town manager report. Jamie, have anything to add today?
I don't, no.
All right, Rosie?
Just a couple of quick things. There was a Conservation Commission meeting last week, and there was a potential applicant who has a really varied background in conservation. She sounded very interested, and certainly she sounded very interesting to us. So we'll hope that she puts in her application soon. And then the other thing is that the Town Hall Building Committee met last week, and we did a sort of I guess a postmortem, an analysis of how we could have perhaps done a better job advertising and informing people about the project. And so that work will continue. And that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, Darcy?
Yes, I attended the joint Capcom FinCom meeting last week. Really interesting. And they're in the process of just starting to prioritize the various capital projects that we're going to be dealing with over the next 5, 10, 15, whatever years. And it was just, there's a lot that they have to consider. We've got water issues that we're going to be dealing with, water storage. Where can we find some wells if we need to in the future? Water distribution, water storage, if I didn't already mention that. And so they're just kind of going through all that. It looks like the public safety building, which is not that old, needs major repairs to the roof. And they also, the HVAC system over there needs to be either replaced or have a lot of work done to it. Some of the other things, the library has an HVAC condenser that needs to be replaced. We also have some repeaters that have to be replaced. This is with regard to the ECO, the Emergency Center Operations. So there's a lot on the plate. Of course, everything's going to have to be prioritized, and you know, discussing about where the money will come from and how we're going to structure that. So they're working on that. And then the Town Hall Building Committee, we had a brainstorming session, and we came up with maybe 45 different ideas that we're going to now narrow down and focus on. And we'll be having another post brainstorming session this Thursday, and see if we can refine our technique and reach out to more people, that kind of thing. I think that's it.
All right, thank you, Darcy. Trying to think if I have anything fit to print. We had a meeting with the chairs, kind of, for FinCom, Wenham, Hamilton, and the Board of Selectmen in Wenham is along with Michelle Bailey and Mary Beth Banyos and Vinny from the school district this afternoon. I think it went well. It was kind of I'll call it an early kind of release of their thoughts on the school budget coming up, and talking about kind of how best to start talking about the items within it. Trying to think if there's any kind of highlights. There's kind of some brainstorming on some creative ideas as well to try and help that rate and how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Let people in the community know what they're asking, and also expressing our concerns about the size of the ask this year. We've had, I think in the last 5 years, we've had a pretty steady 5+% increase. And then last year was the 8.5% increase. And it's not just kind of a one-time increase, it's compounding as you go, right? So it's a very kind of difficult pill to swallow. And I expressed that of all years to have an increase, this may be a tough sell this year with the kind of current climate, with COVID and loss of jobs and revenues. But also I think there's a lot of parents of school age kids who are unhappy with the way the school year has been going. There's a lot of opinions out there about how school should be in person, not in person, et cetera, et cetera. There's about 1,000 opinions, and all of them, nobody's happy really. No one's saying everyone's doing a great job. It's unfortunate people are really trying to do a great job, but as in government circumstances, you can never make everybody happy. So I think they're going to have a tough road to hoe with an increase and support that they usually get from that kind of demographic. I think it's going to be a tougher sell this year to pass that budget. Joe, anything that I kind of missed on that? We talked about health insurance. They talked about replacing a lot of the FTEs that they lost in this coming budget. We discussed kind of Mary Beth, kind of alluded to if we don't fill those FTEs, that maybe there's a drop in our status as a school. We lose some programming and maybe we get knocked down some notches on the great school that we have on our ranking. But I agree and disagree with that. I guess my personal opinion is that we've got a really strong community with a really lot of involved parents. And, the teachers in Hamilton are great, but I think that we could go through some difficult times with staffing and programming and kids would still be okay, because we've got that parental support. In other communities that aren't as affluent as ours, there's issues with that. Right. If you've got a good home life, you've got a good school life most times. But is there anything I missed, Joe?
No, that pretty much covered it. I mean, they did talk a little bit about the application to the MSBA for a new elementary school and the likelihood that they will hear something in April of this year. So that would kind of, if they get invited into the process at that point, they would start with a feasibility plan, and the whole program, if they get invited in from start to opening of school and having kids in the building, would be about a 5 to 7 year time frame. But if they get accepted in April, it's a 3 to 5 year time frame before you can break ground, and you have to have that big ballot question to see if the town wants to support the construction. So it's a lot going on, but it's a little bit out down the road still.
Yeah, and a little bit of that discussion led into the regional agreement slightly because of right now we have a school building in Wenham, and the kind of question Michelle Bailey brought up is, would the new school be at Cutler or would it be a space in Wenham? Where would we build that new school building? I kind of assume it would be at Cutler, but maybe it goes in Wenham and they have a more equitable land kind of a situation that we have with the middle school, high school, and our schools, and that's, I think it's just a school building. I don't think it specifies what in Wenham, as long as there's one school associated building, be it central office or an elementary school or whatever in Wenham in the regional agreement. But that's also something we should think about when we get closer to our master plan and working with the school. When we do get a steering committee, having a school committee member on there so we can relay that information into our master plan, because it all does affect us and our tax base. I think that's all I have really. I heard through the grapevine that the cell phone tower building permit might be coming up. I know I keep talking about it, but I think they've had some delays. I think National Grid finally just gave them approval on something. So I think now they're able to move forward, but I don't think they've pulled any permit yet. But I think it's
They haven't pulled a permit, but they have contacted Patrick and indicated that they should expect to see us in the next week or two. So,
Yeah. And I think that's all I really have. How about you, Joe? Your town manager report.
I've got the town manager report should have been emailed to you today. It'll be posted online tomorrow for the residents. I'm going to just read a little bit of the high points as I usually do. The principal thing and the thing we're kind of excited to talk about, and I really want to give a lot of credit to our health department, our fire department, our council on aging, and our Hamilton Medical Reserve Corps, as well as some of our partners in Topsfield and Wenham. We're going to be having our first COVID-19 vaccination clinic for people in phase 2 category under the state guidelines this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Recreation Center. We have a limited number of doses, so there will be registrations required. We should be able to release a phone number because the registrations will be by phone on a first come, first call basis. Again, this is a limited amount of vaccine that we're getting, so we're encouraging people to call as quickly as they can. We have people standing by willing to help people register. And once we meet the number of people that we have doses for this time, we'll be getting a wait list for the next time that we have doses. But we'd also caution people that if you get on the wait list, if you're notified that you're on the wait list and you can find a way to get the shot somewhere else in the interim, take advantage of that, take yourself off our list. Municipalities are being given very small amount of vaccine at a time, on the order of between 50 and 100 doses at a time. So, those will go quickly, even in a small town like ours. So we just wanted to let people know we're doing everything we can to make vaccine available and convenient as possible. We did do some vaccinations of homebound seniors this past weekend, and we're continuing our partnership with the folks in Topsfield to deliver the second doses for the first responders that we did the first doses for about a month ago. So the programs, we're partnering with everybody we can, and we've applied to the state to get our fair share of doses. But again, it's a very small amount that comes to the local municipalities. The state really has designs on pushing people to the max vaccination sites. So the site in Danvers or the commercial sites like in CVS's or Walgreens that get permitted to do that. There's a pharmacy in Ipswich we're trying to work with. They have been permitted by the state to give vaccine. So if we're successful in working with them, we may be able to work with them and have them do some locally as well. And Wenham is going to be operating a drive-through clinic in Pingree Park that they've agreed to open up to us as long as we have doses that we can share in that endeavor. So
are the ages of the participants going to be on phase 2, or does the age not matter?
No, you got to be. Right now, you've got to be in phase 2. So if you're 75 and older, or 65 with 2 or more comorbidities, then you'll be eligible, and you could call in and try and reserve a spot, and or get on a waiting list. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll just go through with the state. When we get our doses, it'll be for whatever phase the state is in. So we'll continue to operate in that way until, the next phase, I think, is teachers are in one part of phase 2. So at a certain point, they'll tell us it's okay to start sharing with teachers, and we'll try to partner with Wenham to make shots available to teachers as well. So just going to do what we can locally to meet the local demand.
Is it true that we're only going to be getting around 100 vaccines?
Yes, the state is not, and we won't. I will say that we have to be very careful. If we get 100 doses, for instance, in a week, and we open up, we need to get rid of all 100 doses, because if we open up a clinic and we only get rid of 80 doses, then we won't get 100 the next week. The most we'll get is 80. So whatever we get every week, we need to make sure that we try to register people to utilize those doses so that we can get the same amount next week for the next phase. That's really important because the state's really trying to I won't say reward, but they're really going to go with communities that have figured out how to get the doses into people's arms quickly and efficiently. And if we're one of those towns, we'll continue to get our allotment of doses, which again, as I said, isn't very much, but it's better than nothing.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I dropped my pen. Yeah, that's the most important thing I think on my town manager report this week. We're very excited about that. We'll be bringing back the. Oh, actually, I do have one more piece of good news. But before I say that, we'll be bringing back the COVID testing at the Miles River Middle School on Saturday, starting on Saturday, February 13th. We took a little bit of a break this week because our volunteers are stretched thin and they're going to be working on the vaccination clinic. So we pulled back from the COVID testing this weekend, but we will be bringing it back. Remind people that the free COVID tests that the town is trying to provide, we're providing from CARES Act funds. It's not an endless pot of money. And while we still have some tests left that we've ordered, and we'll be able to go forward with that, if people continue to use them so that they can, for personal reasons, just to make sure they're safe or whatever, we're trying to only offer the free tests for people who either have symptoms or have been notified that they are a close contact of a COVID positive case. If you're not and you want to get the test, you can do it. You just have to elect to self-pay, and that's only $85. You can put it on your credit card when you get there, and it saves the tests that the town has purchased for other people in town who don't have that and really need to know if they've got COVID because they've been identified as a close contact or something. So please, we're reminding people to be cognizant of that and not utilize the free tests unless you absolutely need it. And the big good bit of news that we want to share is that we were informed late last week that we received a grant through the Winter Shared Streets and Spaces Grant Program at Mass DOT. It'll be for $64,800. This grant was put together in a very quick way by Pat Shannon, Tim Olson, Sean Timmons, who's on the call here with us, as well as a couple of residents, Ted Ackworth and Brian Stein of the Planning Board and HDC helped us write this grant. It is really designed to make outdoor public spaces multifunctional. And the grant that we've received will be to make improvements along Railroad Avenue and along Willow Street from Railroad to Patton Park. The idea here is to make that whole area more accessible for people. It's to give people a better, safer way to get between the downtown shopping district and Patton Park. There'll be bike pads, there'll be a bike lane, there'll be new electricity outlets provided on the street so that we can do things like when we did the shopping fair a couple of years ago in May, we'd be able to do that again and people would be able to come in, be able to plug in a food truck or things like that. So you'd have power on the street that would be easily accessible. So this is a very exciting time. It makes the streets more user-friendly for people. It helps. We're going to implement this as quickly as we can, as soon as we get the money, so that we can get people using those outdoor spaces safely. So very happy for the work that they all put into that grant. We appreciate the citizen input and engagement, but as well as the time of the staff. So,
all right, thanks, Joe. One other thing too is you may have noticed over the last couple of weeks that there's been some road crews out in town replacing some fire hydrants. We had, I think it was 11 fire hydrants replaced. A couple ones were a little tricky on Bay Road, but they were in need of an update. And I know we've kind of been talking about it for a handful of years, but we finally got it done, and we kind of had a window of weather and everything like that. So it worked out pretty good. All right, on to our consent agenda. We have approved minutes from the December 7th, 2020 and the December 21st, 2020 Board of Selectmen meetings. Approve community house request to use Patton Park for Bunny in the Park. Those are our two items on the consent agenda.
Sean, I think a late entry was the November 9th minutes also.
Did that make it on? Maybe I don't have the amended agenda.
Yeah, Pat amended the agenda at the last minute today, but I think you guys were all provided the November 9th minutes. If they weren't, we can hold them. I don't want to put anybody in an awkward position, but we were informed this morning that everybody should have had them and they were ready. So if you wanted to move forward with them, we amend the agenda first thing this morning.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So also we'll add to that approve the minutes from the November 9th, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting.
And even though it's on the consent agenda, if anybody has questions, Gail Lull from the community house is here.
I am.
Did you do the Bunny in the Park last year?
No, we didn't. No, we did Santa in the Park in November. Yeah,
And that
which was a
worked
huge
great.
success.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
That was a high demand.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And people would drive by and want to come in. So we took everybody we possibly could. It was a great event.
Is Bunny in the Park going to be kind of a similar type of thing?
Yes, absolutely. The good thing is the bunny doesn't talk, so it will move a lot faster.
They'll hop around and
No, he won't be hopping around. He'll be sitting in a chair, socially distanced from the families that come up, and he'll be masked underneath also. But, we figure we'll do about 12 families an hour.
all right. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from November 9th, December 7th, December 21st, 2020, and approve the community house request to use the Patton Park for Bunny in the Park.
With little Bo Peep.
Okay, with little Bo Peep.
Yeah, we need a helper.
Careful, Bo Peep talks.
Anybody
Yeah,
want to
she-
second that?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? I think Gail did a good job of telling us what's going on.
Great, thank you.
All right. We'll start a roll call vote for those in favor. We'll start with Darcy,
Darcy Dale, aye.
Rosie,
Rosie Kennedy, I.
Jamie,
Amy Knutson, aye.
and myself, a former Easter bunny during one of the Mothers Club's events. Aye. Thank you, Gail, for joining us for that. All right. So
So we're all set?
you're all set.
Terrific. I guess Sean's going to send me some paperwork I need to fill out. And I do have a certificate of insurance for you.
Perfect.
All right. Terrific. Let me know if you need anything else. And thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Gail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye.
Aye.
All right, now we have a department head report. We have Sean Timmons with us tonight, our illustrious department head for the rec department. Sean, what have you got for us tonight?
Everyone, how's everyone doing? If I cut out here, it's my power's a little spotty, so if I can't get through the whole thing, we'll come back another one. So just really want to provide kind of a brief update. I know you guys got other things to discuss tonight. So just from a department programming standpoint, right now we're kind of right in the midst of our winter programming. We usually have kind of 2 sessions of our winter programming, one which runs from New Year's to February break, and then the second part will run after February break till about to a little after April vacation. So we're kind of right at the end of our first session here, and I think all things considered, numbers have been strong and programming has been going really well. We'll get into our second set of winter programming after February break, and numbers look pretty good for that. So we'll start promoting those a little bit more over the next coming weeks. Our spring programming, our brochure is pretty much done. So we believe we're going to be able to get that out by Friday. And our spring programming usually starts right after April vacation and runs right up to the start of the summer. So it will be nice to get the kids outside. We'll be able to offer kind of various or kind of more robust programming because we'll be outside and not confined to our inside gymnasium. Normally, when we have our spring brochure come out, our spring and our summer brochure come out at the same time. So in a normal summer or a normal year, our Patton Park program and our pool operations, that would all be part of this brochure that will be coming out hopefully by Friday. And then we start registration for all of our spring and then normally our summer programming the 1st of March. This year, because we're still unsure of what state guidelines might be, I just want to give it probably another month with our Patton Park program. So we'll probably be coming out with a brochure specific to the Patton Park program in March with an April registration start. And for the pool specifically, we're probably going to hold off even longer. And we'll probably look to do maybe in April with a May registration, or maybe even push it a little bit further and come out after have the brochure come out after April vacation. But the plan is of now we're doing our recruiting, we're doing our planning for the summer for both the park and the pool. So we feel as though we know what the guidelines were last year. So if they stay the same, things will be different, but we know we can pull it off because we've been, running our programming currently. And if things do, if things trend in the right direction, maybe some of the guidelines or some of the restrictions loosen a little bit, which will really allow us to kind of offer, not, my guess is we're not going to be able to offer it like we normally in the past offered it, but maybe a little more like the past as opposed to, how we're offering our program now. So that's the programming. So I don't know if anyone has questions about the pool or the camp, specific. I know those are, things that we did not do last year that we are planning to do this summer.
So Sean, with the lifeguards, we had I don't think it was last year, the year before, we kind of had a lifeguard shortage and we had a lot of people kind of come back. Are we going to have similar shortages? Do we have enough kids that didn't work last year that would be able to pull from for this year? Are they off to college, et cetera?
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to need as many lifeguards as we've had in the past. I still think that we're probably going to have to go with a reservation style kind of program to get people to the pool. Last summer, the max was 40% capacity. That's what the state guidelines said. For us, that's basically 40 people at a time, which would really only need us to have 2 lifeguards on at any specific time. So I don't think we're going to need as many. That being said, it's tough. For a long time now, lifeguard certification classes haven't run. So those are starting to kind of ramp up a little bit, and the YMCA's and Red Cross, they've kind of figured out how to do it in a in the COVID world and in a socially distant way. So they it's kind of a trickle down effect. They need to make their modifications, and it takes them a while to figure out how to run it. Then we get the folks to actually get there to take the classes. But we've been working with a couple of the local YMCA's, and we're still working with local recreation departments to try to figure out ways to get to get a lot of people certified. I think another thing too that might help us is folks that lifeguard year round who are lifeguarding inside right now. They may want to be outside during the summer. So I think there might be a little bit of a a benefit to that. So our jobs are posted. Our lifeguard jobs are posted. We haven't had any applications yet, but I think as we get closer to the summer, that will change. But we do have a good number of folks, employees from 2 summers ago that have expressed interest in coming back. So it's just trying to get them recerted, as quickly as possible.
Any field issues, or I'm thinking we've got sports seasons coming up and registrations for different things. I know basketball is running right now. Any other things that going on that we should know about?
No, I mean, basketball is really the youth basketball is, playing at the rec center currently. I think we could possibly run into some issues depending upon how long the vaccination clinics run, specifically Pingree Park. So that's 3 baseball diamonds that's at Pingree Park. So, if Wenham plans on, and I believe they're going to keep, and rightfully so, go as long as they can, that's a good portions of a Saturday on a continuing basis that will, not be available for our youth sports. So, I think we're working with that, and we have a youth sport kind of organization president's meeting scheduled for next Tuesday night. But I will say that they've been great. So anything that we've asked for them as far as guidelines or policies to put in place, they've done so. And really, I think, pretty remarkable. They've done a really great job and been really responsive. So, there was no spring season last year, so we're looking forward to getting everyone out and participating in the spring.
The only last thing I have really is we've talked over the last couple of years about the revolving fund with the pool and into the general revolving fund for the rec department. And I'm gonna forward think you. We're opening the warrant tonight, I believe, and I'm gonna kind of assume that we're gonna put some type of a warrant article on there for that. I'm just kind of thinking, of our situation last year with the closing of the pool and we had that bit of money that we had to get approved because it wasn't part of the general revolving fund and, kind of tidying that up. Is there anything you want to add about that?
Yeah, so that was actually my last bullet point. But just real quickly beforehand, our department is going to be submitting a CPC application for the resurfacing to the tennis courts at Patton Park. So if anyone's been down there lately, there is some significant cracking. The last time we did a resurface was about 7 years ago. So this is part of the cycle. So we'll be submitting that. I actually submitted it today. So, fingers crossed. But I think it's a worthy project. The courts get used a ton. And a lot of pickleball players now. So we've been talking, with some of the local pickleball players, and they're even drafting a letter of support to the CPC. So that's really great to see. So that will be, we talk about town meeting, that hopefully will be a warrant item at town meeting. So yes, so the revolving fund. So really quickly, when the pool was first built, the municipal laws were different from how they are now. So we were really forced to create two separate revolving funds, what we call the recreation revolving fund and what we call the pool revolving fund. It's grown to be pretty problematic, especially once we saw the growth in our programming. So once the laws changed, the municipal laws changed, we have the ability right now to combine those two funds into one fund. And we can set the spending limit, wherever we want to on that one fund. So we are proposing that. And I know, Joe and I had talked about it, and Marissa. So that is something that, we'd like to move forward. We did have a joint FinCom meeting last week, or maybe 7 to 10 days ago, where we explained that to the joint FinComs, and they seem to be in agreement. It creates a lot less work on the back end for us, but we can still provide the same sort of reporting that we provide now. So we will know, how much money we generate in pool passes. We will know how much money we're spending on lifeguards. So, even though the fund becomes one, the way that we break it out and the way that our recreation software works, the same reports that, everyone has been getting for the past 4 years, they'll still get the same reports. It just, on our end, it gives us a little more financial flexibility. And it does allow us, as you mentioned, because I think we will struggle if the pool guidelines aren't lifted and it's still 40 or it's still 50%, the numbers don't change. We'll be in the same spot this year that we were last year. So I think, it's not a one or the other, and I don't want to be doom and gloom, but I do think this is extremely, extremely important to move forward with.
Yeah, to echo what Sean's point there in the last part, we think back to the special town meeting we had in November, where we had to have a warrant article for $800 just to fix the deficit in the revolving fund in the pool, only because we weren't able to open the pool all year long. And we know there are built-in expenses every year, no matter what. So we had money in the account that had handled most of that cost, but we were short about $850 or so. And we had to have a special town meeting warrant article to get that money from the general fund. If we merged the funds, we wouldn't have to do that again. The rec revolving fund has built up quite a bit of revenue over the years, some additional money than we've used. It's also important to remember that back when the town split and had the second revolving fund for the pool, you had previously had a pool that had taken in revenues, and that had used to gone into the old recreation revolving fund. So there was never any money taken from the recreation revolving fund and added to the new pool revolving fund, even though some of the revenue that was sitting there was from the old pool. So, there's a legitimate, statement to be made that some of the money that sits there in reserve in that rec fund actually belongs to the pool anyway, because it belongs to people who use a pool in the towns of Hamilton and Wenham. So, we hope your impression, Shauna, you must have been looking ahead on the agenda and seeing the list. We've already got 4 or 5 probable warrant articles that we're thinking about, and a joint article to merge these funds is one of them.
Yeah, and just to add one last item, and 95% of our payments are done online with credit card. when folks pay by credit card, they're not individualizing their registrations, right? So they'll register for the park program, buy a pool membership, sign up for the swim team, and then register for a regular program. And it's one credit card payment. So what we have to do is we then have to go in and manually switch over all those payments from the credit card statement to the pool revolving fund. On top of that, we invoice ourselves. So our pool revolving fund invoices our recreation revolving fund for the camp use at the pool. So even our auditors, when they came in, they kind of questioned what we were doing, and we explained it to them. But I think, just less work on the back end. And the pool and the camp program are so linked that, it does make it a little tricky, and, we're bound to, we try to do the best we can, but, in some cases, maybe we are missing a payment, or maybe we are making a mistake, when we're manually transferring over all these different payments.
Right. Yeah, it's tough to keep track of splitting that bill every time somebody registers for 3 different things when it could just go in the same account.
Well, and not to mention the time and effort that has to go in it from staff time dedicated to that instead of, doing the other functions of their job. It's labor intensive. So.
And not to mention when someone takes account credit on a pool program, then wants to apply it to go to the camp. So.
Right.
It's
And
triple.
you've got to do the shell game.
Yeah, exactly.
Any questions or comments for Sean while he's with us?
I have a question about the request for resurfacing of the tennis courts. Is that under the auspices of the rec committee, Sean?
So, it's part of the rec department, the rec committee.
Okay.
So yeah, we met back, maybe about a month ago. And they, unanimously voted to support the project.
Okay.
So that's part of the CPC application, is to get board involvement, board commitment,
Okay.
Board support and approval.
Okay. So my next question is, roughly what would the cost be to resurface the tennis courts? Because I agree they're heavily utilized.
Yeah. So we're asking, the request is for $45,000.
I think
and
so.
That's to fix about 500 feet worth of cracks, as well as resurface and then restripe the courts.
Okay. And then, so my other question is, why wouldn't this be an appropriate expense for the rec revolving fund?
So last year, the rec, because of the the pandemic and us not being able to run the camp last year, our recreation revolving fund lost $136,000. So our recreation revolving fund basically got cut in half, if not a little bit more. So normally what we would do is we would split this cost, or maybe a little bit, maybe 60-40 or 70-30. But the other thing to remember is that that revolving funds can really only expend what they're getting revenue for. So we're not charging the public to use the tennis courts. Now we're charging the public to, use tennis lessons or for our camp program, but we wouldn't even if we were even in better financial spot to pay 100% of that, because we're actually not taking in the revenue directly related to that type of programming.
Okay, but it is still part of the rec program. So I'm just wondering, it seems like everybody goes to the CPC for everything. And so I'm just wondering why at least part of it wouldn't be funded by the rec department, especially because we have potentially large scale items that are being underwritten by the CPC. And so I think one of the things that we need to think about is how we're using our CPC funds. I mean, I know just a couple of years ago, you had the basketball courts were, not the courts, but the basketball hoops were redone. And so I'm just asking the question and wondering if there couldn't be more direct financing from the rec committee.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it, but again, it's you know, it's tough because we don't really have any general fund budget to do things to do any refurbishments or any renovations or repairs to any actual property. It all comes out of the rec revolving fund. And like I mentioned, you know, revolving funds need to be specifically spent on items that you specifically charge for. So it does get a little tricky.
I have a question. Will Wenham be pitching in their part for this repair?
So we did not go to the town of Wenham, no.
It's a town of Hamilton resource. The town owns the Patton Park playground and the Patton Park tennis court, so it would be our responsibility.
Okay.
Hey, this is speaking of Wenham, and I know Wenham's courts, and since you guys are a joint department, has Wenham had any more talks about their tennis courts?
No, not since the last time that we had the study done, and then the meeting with their board of selectmen, and maybe that was 18 months ago.
Yeah, I knew it was about 2 years ago almost
Yeah.
now.
So no, not since then. So you know, no real movement, you know, for those courts over there.
And everybody's frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, but there's a drive for maybe repurposing those tennis courts into some other thing, like a skate park or another activity place.
So, right. So, you know, I think there's a lot of moving parts that are happening right now, depending upon what the high school and the schools plan to do to their campus. So there's been talks about having tennis courts on their campus, you know, which would be for the high school tennis team. Right now, the high school tennis team, I believe, plays at the Ipswich Country Club. So, you know, if the high school had tennis courts, then would there be a need for, you know, 8 tennis courts within, you know, a mile of one another? So now, you know, maybe there's a way to repurpose that area. So there's a lot of moving parts. I know that the Wenham Open Space and Rec Committee put in an application to look at West Wenham as a possible destination for some sort of recreational activities. So, you know, a lot of balls up in the air. And, you know, it's kind of hard to juggle them all, you know, when we're talking about the town of Hamilton, the town of Wenham, and then the Hamilton Wenham School District. So it does get a little, you know, it can get a little jumbled up.
All right. Anything else from anybody else? All right. Thank you for your time, Sean. I appreciate the report.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Take care.
Sean.
All right. Now on to our agenda. We have approved a date for budget and capital presentation to the joint committees.
I'm going to share a camera, a screen here with you real quick so that we can see dates that we might be looking at. So you'll remember that we had a draft of kind of a schedule for events leading up to town meeting, but we did make some adjustments to that at the end of December and into January to allow for department heads to complete their budgets and meet with the liaisons at the FinCom. So that backed things up a little bit. I have checked with the FinCom, and Christina can confirm for us, she's here, but I believe that the FinCom said that the date of February 20th, Saturday, February 20th, 1 week later than we had originally projected, would work for the FinCom members to do the joint presentation of the budget and capital requests. And so I'm going to ask you folks if you'd support that, making a vote on that to change that date, and then we can make sure that we have everything ready for you in advance of that.
Okay. And also a reminder too, in my meeting earlier, we've got a meeting on the 10th with the school committee with their budget. Just a reminder for you. I think the 20th is fine. It's school vacation week that week, but I'm not going anywhere. I'll be going to my living room probably and outside and hike, but that's about it. I don't know if anybody else is jumping out of Wenham, or Hamilton or wherever, but does the 20th work for everybody?
It works. What time do we think it would be?
We were going to propose 9 a.m. and it'll be a Zoom meeting, so everybody can head out to Dunkies, pick up your coffee, and head back home and sit in the comfortable of your own home to participate in the meeting if you like.
9 a.m. Ugh.
That's gonna be hard.
Oh,
Do you want it earlier, Rosie?
ah, no.
I mean, typically when we do these Saturday ones with the FinCom, and Darcy remembers from being on FinCom, it's usually about 3 hours or so, and then we all kind of get sick of each other and go home.
We all get hungry? No.
We all get hungry, right?
Okay. All right. All right. All right. 9 o'clock is fine with me.
So somebody want to make a motion for me so I have it official?
Yeah.
I'll move that we convene the meeting on February 20th at 9 o'clock a.m. via Zoom.
Second by anybody? Jamie or Rosie?
Second,
All right. Roll call vote. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy. Ay, 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 ay. Okay.
Jamie,
Jamie Knutson, aye.
Darcy,
Darcy Dale, aye.
myself, Sean Farrell, I. And I assume FinCom's on board with that. Is very critical to
Yep.
that situation.
Everyone said they could do it that day.
All right,
Gonna
perfect.
do the wake up call.
Right. Well, like a hotel.
I'll start a phone tree. I've got John Poolage's number now, so I'll call John at 8 and he can call the rest of the FinCom.
I'm used to doing it for my kids for school, so I have like 100 alarms set on my phone.
Thanks, Mom.
All right. Up next, we have vote on the, excuse me, vote to open the warrant for the May 1st, 2021 annual town meeting. So I'll entertain a motion to open the warrant.
So moved.
Second by anybody? All
Second,
right. And then a roll call vote. We'll start with Rosie,
Rosie Kennedy. Aye.
Jamie,
Jamie Knutson, aye.
Darcy,
Darcy Dale, aye.
and myself, Sean Farrell, I. All right. And then we have now, after that discussion about any warrant articles. And Joe's got a few up here.
Yeah, so this is what we know of currently. Possible, not necessarily, none of these are set in stone, but these are possible. Obviously, you've considered the fact that the town hall building project may come back out in the spring. If it does, it's going to need to go before annual town meeting again because the special town meeting vote was only good for 90 days. So you'd have to have another vote of town meeting in order to have it on the ballot. We try to coincide this. If you do it, we try to coincide this with an annual town meeting vote on Saturday, and then the election 5 days or 6 days later. You could also have the town meeting article on the 1st anyway, and then put off a vote until as late as September. Annual town meeting votes have a longer run time than a special town meeting approval. So you'd have until September to have the vote on that if you did it then. Again, I know that you haven't made a decision on that yet, but I just wanted to include it as a possible article. We already discussed merging the pool and recreation revolving funds. There was a proposal by a member of the Town Hall Building Committee and the Community Preservation Committee to seek potentially an increase in the CPC surcharge from 2% to 3%. This one would require a petition campaign to be initiated, but if that gets in place, you'd need to have this on the warrant as well. The capital plan will be on the warrant. We're doing our best we're waiting. We've been in communication with the capital committee as well and the FinCom, and we understand, everybody understands how tight things are this year financially. So we're trying our best to keep the capital request for this year for FY22 down as low as possible. But we might be somewhere right around $500,000 potentially. I'm hoping it comes in a little lower than that. And Chabaco Road project. So as you know, the Chabaco Road project's made some filings with DEP, with CONSCOM. There are going to be a couple of things legislatively that need to happen in order for that project to move forward too. As we get some of the approvals, we're going to need to seek state approval to revise the current conservation restriction. The land we're moving the road to is in conservation land. The land where the road is now is in conservation land. The land in the right of way that we could move to is in conservation land. All of it would require us to get the state to just approve this. So it's going to need approval eventually of the Hamilton CONSCOM, probably a vote of the Manchester ATI's annual town meeting as well, because they're the property owner, and it will need a town meeting vote in order to be moved to the state for their approval. So those are the articles I know of at this moment. I don't have any others that have percolated up through the department, so we've sent out a couple of requests. So if everything stays, we might have a pretty light annual town meeting warrant this year. But I'm not a fool. I'm not going to say it's going to be right, because something always comes up. Something always jumps up to the fore. But this is what we know of at this point. And I'm glad to take other suggestions or requests, or look into things if you have other ideas.
Any questions on any of these that we got up on the screen here, or any additional ones that you've heard of? Possibilities?
Joe, right now, there's no citizen petition pending.
Right now there are no citizen petitions. Nobody has come in to take out the application to do a citizen petition. Nobody's made any. We've heard a whisper of one potential one, but until I see something in writing or whatnot, I'm not going to speculate about what might come forward.
All right. Let's see. Up next, we have discuss and approve a date for the Human Rights Commission Forum.
I'll put the calendar back up for you.
Excuse me.
Jamie, do you want to take the lead on this? You've been talking to some of the folks that we met. You and Rosie have been part of the planning committee for this, so do you want to take the lead?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some discussion back and forth. I don't think we've really had our last Selectmen meeting, but I think we've mostly come down to a date that seems to work. It was on the planning committee of February 23rd, as well as kind of the person that we at least are tentatively planning to have moderate it, and kind of another speaker at the meeting. So February 23rd is our
target
date, I think.
Right. Do we want to? Do we need to approve anything, Joe, for this, or just kind of put a placeholder on it?
I think that, it would be just helpful to, it doesn't necessarily need to be a vote, but just like a little bit of a show of support from, I know that Jamie and Rosie both already said that the 23rd would work for them. As Jamie said, the staff members who are going to be part of the HRC have indicated that's good for them. And both of the speakers that we've contacted so far, we've had one other person reach out to us that we had initially initiated contact with, that got back in touch with us Sunday. So I have to make contact with her as well. But so far, everybody we've talked to, the 23rd would work. Okay. We have identified who we believe would be a good moderator and a good feature speaker. We may add another one or two, but we've at least got the good framework, I think, of an agenda and format for the forum. So,
okay. So I would say I approve of the 23rd. I think if it works out best that we've got the most kind of, bang for our buck, we get the most speakers and people that can be available that night. And then Jamie and Rosie, do you have an idea, and Joe, when we might be able to kind of have more confirmation of that, so we can really start promoting it to our social media and word of mouth kind of stuff?
So I think if Jamie and Rosie don't mind me taking the lead here, if we're all in agreement, if you're all in agreement that the 23rd works, we can have a meeting with the planning committee later this week, finalize, firm up the program with those folks. And as soon as we have the program, we'd be able to start to publicize what that is and who will be speaking. I just wanted to make sure that we were settled on the 23rd before I reach back out to the people that we would spoken to. So.
That seem feasible, Rosie and Jamie?
Yeah, no, that's good for me. And Joe, we're thinking at 6:30 or 6. What time are we thinking this will be?
I was thinking either 6:30 or 7. I didn't want to. What do folks think? I think that if we start, we were planning to schedule it to be a 2-hour event.
2 hours.
Yeah, I think we were planning the program to run like an hour and a half, and think that if it's very successful and people are really engaged and talking, it might linger to 2 hours. So I was planning like a 2-hour window. So if we went 7 to 9 or 6:30 to 8:30, I don't think that would be asking too much of people. That was based on the conversations we had with Russ and Mary Beth and yourselves. Do we all still think that's a decent plan?
I would vote for 6:30 start time.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, 6:30 to 7, it's, I mean, splitting hairs for me. So whatever we can kind of get the most consensus from the kind of guest speakers and the folks that are putting it together, I think either one works for me.
Jamie, I know one of the speakers was going to be traveling that day. Would she be able to participate by 6:30?
I don't, well, let's put it this way. I had told her likely 7. I guess the later the better for her. But even if we started at 6:30, if we had to, it doesn't mean that she has to be right on at 6:30. Although that would be. So I guess I can ask her specifically.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. Sure.
And Anna just posted in the chat that there may be a school committee meeting at 7. I don't know what they'll have on their agenda at that date. It's a little bit future casting, but
Why are they meeting on? They almost always meet on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday. Why are they meeting on a Tuesday?
right.
I think at some point we're not going to necessarily be able to escape everything. Sometimes, I mean,
There's
that
just
might
gonna be
even be a
overlap.
planning board night. Sometimes there's going to be other stuff going on. It's up to you folks. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we just go for it. You know, Anna just said the same, but I think we just go for it. I mean, we've kind of pushed it off for a bit, and I want to kind of get it done so we can move on.
Okay.
All right, so everyone thinks 23rd will work, and Rosie, Jamie, and Joe will work on the details. All right, so next we have discuss and approve the date for a open meeting law / minutes keeping seminar.
Oops, I'll share that again. Hold on. Yeah, you folks had asked, the board had asked if we could have specifically around minutes, but KP Law does a seminar. It's part of their retainer to us. It wouldn't cost us any additional money. They could roll in some information about OML, particularly for new board members and such, and minutes takers. They just said that they've been working on it, tweaking it, kind of Hamiltonizing it because they do this for other towns. And Tom said to me, get a date from the board and then be ready to roll. So I don't have anything beyond February, but if you want to but fortunately March looks like February until the end of the month. So if you want to consider a date that we can give to KP Law, let me know, and we can give them the date and they can move forward.
Is there any particular nights that are better for people, or does it matter?
Well, it depends how long it is. How long is the seminar?
Yeah, that's a good question, Darcy. Do you know how long, Joe, it is?
I think Tom said it's like usually runs about an hour or so. It depends on how many questions people get and stuff. So it's not a very, very long seminar, an hour to an hour and a half. And then if there's a few questions, it might go a little longer, but it's not meant to be, overwhelming for people. It's meant to, give people the information they need.
And are we going to be promoting this kind of across?
Yes. Once you pick a date and I get KP Law to confirm they're available that date, I will make sure all boards and committees and all minutes takers know.
I mean, do we want to maybe shoot for a Monday night? Because other than our meetings, there's not much on Monday nights. It's usually planning board Tuesday, school committee, FinCom or Wednesday, Thursday, CPC sometimes.
So in March, I believe your Monday meetings are going to be the 1st and 15th. So that would leave the 8th and 22nd open.
I'm fine with either date.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm okay with either of those. Do you want to maybe see which one works better for Tom, and we can shoot for the 8th or the 22nd?
Yep, we'll do.
Okay. And time, do you want to, Rosie and stuff, do you want to try 6:30?
I would appreciate that. Sure.
Okay.
All right. So up next, we have the town manager report and town manager evaluation and discussion next steps. We have, or we should say we don't have, Bill Olson, who has all of the reviews, and I got one from Darcy today, so we haven't been able to kind of from Rosie today. So we haven't been able to kind of cook Rosie's into the whole scheme of things. So I apologize that we don't have it all compiled tonight. That was my plan. And plus Bill's missing. So that's another factor into the whole mix. So unfortunately, Joe, you're going to have to wait till we talk about you again. So next meeting, we'll talk about Joe in front of his face. But we know that he's got a contract coming up soon, so we should start discussing some contract. And my suggestion, and I think Joe agrees with it, is maybe we designate a person or two to talk to Joe kind of about his contract and what kind of things he would like changed in it, or some asks for COLA increase, whatever it may be, and start working on that. Is there anybody that wants to throw their hat into ring to talk to Joe?
I will.
Okay.
And if you need a second person, I will.
Okay.
Whatever, I mean, I don't know what Jamie would like to do or Bill, but just offering.
Yeah, and we can, I don't know, we could make a decision without Bill here tonight. I don't know if Bill's interested or not, but I don't think it matters kind of who it is, because it's just kind of talking to Joe and figuring it out and then bringing it back to us.
Okay.
And then we kind of all discuss it as a group. So
Okay.
I don't think it's going to matter too much who does the talking to him, as long as we get the information from him that we need.
Okay.
So
To move along.
I go to visit him a lot, so he's used to me sitting in his office, so that's fine.
All right, so
when-
I'm getting ready to put her name on the chair just so nobody else takes it.
all right, so then we'll have we'll say Rosie and Darcy will speak with Joe sometime. Maybe let's try and do it before our next meeting, and you guys can update us, and we can also do the review at the same time. And I also have the results back from the employee survey from the department heads and kind of other interested parties, compiled from Michelle Lee, and I'll distribute that to you guys soon. I'm trying to think anything else I can add to that. Darcy, do you have a question? You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so Rosie and I will be in touch with Joe to find out when he has a block of time.
Yeah.
And would this be over Zoom? Okay, he's nodding, yes. Okay. All right, so we'll be in touch then.
I mean, unless you both want to come in and we can meet in the memorial room, it's totally up to you. But I to make it easier for you, I can do it over Zoom. That's fine.
I'm isolating, so if we could do, if Rosie wants to do that and you could Zoom with me, the two of you, or however.
We can figure it out. My circumstances are different than yours, Darcy. So I understand. We'll make it work for everybody.
Okay, you have 2 weeks to do that.
Yeah, and do you ladies, and I'll send. I don't think you have it, Jamie, but do either of you ladies have a copy of Joe's contract?
I don't think I do unless it's on the website.
Okay, I'll find my copy of it and I'll send it to you guys, just so you can look at it before you meet with him, so you know what's in it and what he's talking about, if there's anything significant.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right, and I'll send you a copy of it too, Jamie.
Okay, thanks.
Trying to think if there's anything else. I was hoping to go over the review tonight, but and Darcy, did you have other things you wanted to add to the review? I know when you had initially sent it to me, you said you wanted to do more with it or something.
I thought there was an extra section. But it looked like it was very similar to the other one. Were there 2 sections?
You put me on the spot now. I can't remember without looking at. I'll look at what you gave me, and then I'll reach out to you if I'm missing something from you.
Okay, that
okay,
works.
perfect. All right. Any new business? We're getting to the end of it here already.
Oh, it's unreal.
I can let you know that according to our DPW director, right now the predictions for snow are dropping.
Yep.
Good.
Evidently the rain snow line is moving westward, so they're getting predictions for less snow tonight than we started the day with. So keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I'm here on the coast, and we've got almost nothing but rain and just a little bit of cover so far. So
yeah,
hopefully it keeps.
Wow, that's good. I want snow. I might be the only one.
You want snow inland on the mountains where people go and ski and stuff. You don't want, but I haven't heard that it's going down in Wachusett. I'm just going down around our area.
Right. All right. If there's no new business anyone has tonight, feel free to email me or give me a call and let me know if there's anything that comes up. Otherwise, Darcy, if you want to.
Yes, I move that we adjourn for the evening.
All right. Anybody second?
Second,
All right. And a roll call vote. We'll start with Rosie.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Darcy,
Aye.
Jamie,
Jamie Knutson, aye.
myself, Sean Farrell. I have a great evening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank